This is a meeting of the Southfield Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a community meeting. There is an opportunity for public participation during the meeting, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will listen to comments but may not respond to during the meeting. If you are physically present and wish to address the board at the appropriate time, please submit a comment card. Roll call. Ashanti Bland, Board President.
Gerald B. Joyce, Vice President.
Yvette Ware Duvall, Board Secretary.
Amani Johnson, Board Treasurer.
Charles Hicks, Board Trustee.
Good evening, Leslie Love Smith Thomas, Board Trustee.
Dr. Jennifer Green, Superintendent, and taking minutes this evening is Ms. Paulette Gardner. Video production is being provided to us this evening by M1 Studios.
May we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Vice President Joyce.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board matters. The first board matter that I would like to bring to the community is a statement from the board. Last evening, Talisha Rice resigned from the Board of Education. The board unanimously accepted her resignation and wishes to take this opportunity to thank her for her years of service to the staff, students, and families of Southfield Public Schools. We wish her all the best in her future endeavors. Given this unexpected vacancy, please know that the district will adhere to Michigan compiled law and Southfield Public Schools board policy in filling the empty board seat within 30 calendar days. If you are interested in applying for this position, note that additional information will be available on the homepage of the district's website. The board recognizes that change is difficult. However, as a body of the whole, we are committed to demonstrating each day the leadership qualities that you expect of your Board of Education. We are committed to working with you to address the many challenges facing public education, post-pandemic mental and social emotional needs, and providing the absolute best educational pathways for our students. You have entrusted us with the world's most valuable resource, our children. We do not take this responsibility lightly and promise that you will see Southfield excellence. My next board matter will be to ask everyone in the room if you will adhere to a moment of silence. The district has lost. Our families, our staff have lost multiple people, and we would just like to recognize that loss at this time. Thank you. I have one more board matter, and that is for Michigan Kids for Our Schools. A letter came to us from our PAC asking us to show support for saying no to a proposal that will reduce the amount of funds that go into the general fund and will ultimately reduce the amount of fund available to all public schools, including charters. Marianne Binion, the Southfield Public Schools Parent Advisory Chair, has asked us to support this, and Southfield Public Schools Board of Education will be writing a letter in support of this initiative. Do any other trustees have any other board matters at this time?
I do, through the chair.
Board Secretary.
I would like to highlight some of the wonderful things that have been happening in our schools as it pertains to a couple of different schools. And we always hear things that are not going right, I wanted to share a couple of highlights, if you haven't seen them on the website already, of things that are going well. So on March 31st, Thompson, which is led by Dr. Starks, and our interim assistant principal, Angela Mallory, were visited by Rhonda Walker as well as Everin Cassidy from Fox Channel 4. So during this time, they read to the children, kindergartners through fifth graders, and then the upper elementary school students. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. Also, they have Miss Panusha, if I'm pronouncing her name right, who was also highlighted for her vending machine of books. So the children have a way of earning coins, and they get to go to the machine and purchase books. It's really a wonderful, wonderful idea that she put forth to our district and highlights of Thompson. Nice job, Thompson. One other highlight that I would like to bring forth is on the 31st, the very same day, we were having a wonderful event which is led at Stevenson, which is led by Principal Hicks.
Hickman.
Ms. Hickman. Ms. Hickman, thank you. Principal Hickman and Portia Eubanks. And during that time, she was having a tea party for a lot of the young ladies, as well as Dr. Green and a few of the other trustees visited both of the schools during those days. It was a wonderful event. The girls were very, very excited. They also had a guest reader, Lieutenant Governor Mr. Gilchrist. And they shared some thoughts, and he shared some information with the board and Dr. Green as well. It was just a wonderful event, and I wanted to share those items with you as we look forward to bringing additional highlights from Southfield to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Smith-Thomas.
Thank you. Good evening, community. I do want to share out regarding the NSBA conference. I did attend along with other trustees here. And as part of procedure, we share out what has taken place when we are on travel and participating in such conferences. I do want to share that while there, I participated in a community service. These conferences always have a community service opportunity, and I always enjoy participating in those. Stuff in backpacks, stuff in lunch boxes, so on and so forth, to support the schools. We were in San Diego, and so these backpacks were to support children experiencing homelessness. So I did take it an opportunity to put that on my calendar, along with a number of courses and presentations I attended. A lot of the presentations I attended were focused around public education advocacy, really wanting to just be in on understanding what's happening across the country as it relates to public education and what other districts are doing and how to further increase my advocacy here in Michigan. I also participated in a presentation regarding early literacy. And one thing I really liked about this presentation is they really were very transparent, this school district, in exposing their data as it related to their literacy. And they talked about their plan of action, and how they really had to just stop, kind of fooling themselves and saying, we have it going on, because once they really took apart the demographics within their district, they saw that the most struggling students were really the ones they had been kind of taken for granted, that needed the support that they had to go in and really put a focus around attacking their literacy. And so I do have some ask of our superintendent here and through the chair, that we really look at what is taking place as it relates to our literacy, and maintaining compliance with our read by grade 3. I have some specific asks later. Also, I was able to participate in a presentation where I saw, I had been asking about some data dashboards, and so I was in there snapping a lot of pictures because this was the first time that I actually saw the type of data dashboard that I feel all districts should have internally, where you were able to really they were able to really have a day-to-day snapshot of all these different data points that they were looking at, and it really made for making some really quick and well-informed decisions. And being an educator, I'm always assessing my students from the moment they walk in my class to the moment I dismiss them, because I know that having that real data really gives you the opportunity to make those necessary teacher moves. And so I think as a district, we have to really look at how are we capturing our data really right in the moment. What are those snapshots and how we can pivot. And so I took a lot of snapshots, and I will forward that information on for further research to see if, how we can possibly get in on capturing something like that within our district. So, all in all, I wish I could report back that it was sunny and beautiful in San Diego, because it was not. I was so disappointed. I had a jacket on, and I went there, and I thought I was going to take it off, and I was like, well, okay, I guess this is just what it is. And then as I was leaving, the sun decided to come back out, and I said, okay, well, do me like that then, but that's all right. But all in all, I did have an enjoyable time as always. Networked with different board members across the country, saw a lot of familiar faces, was able to really just catch up and really take the time. It's nothing like having the opportunity to talk with other board members and say, what's going on in your district, what's working. A lot of us in public education, we're dealing with some of the same challenges. It's just about, being able to realistically look at what those challenges are and have some very candid conversations and transparent conversations about it. So that's all I have as far as my report out from the conference. So as it relates to the read by grade 3 process, and I did ask in the transition of leadership, perhaps this information was lost in that, but I am seeking to know a number as it relates, since we are in April, we've had 2 cycles of assessment. How many students do we currently have slated that the state would say are at risk for repeating 3rd grade? That is a specific ask I'm asking, as well as just understanding where our families are in the communication process of the IRIPs, and how we're coming together to tackle that, not only for this set of students who unfortunately have to face the implications of that law, but also the students coming after them. I've said it many times, started my career in early childhood education, huge early childhood education advocate, and so I do want to know what we're doing to tackle our early literacy. And the only other information I was seeking, and this isn't anything that I'm expecting tonight, however, I am hoping that it just kind of becomes on the radar, wanting to understand what our shift is going to look like, if any, as it relates to the vision for our early childhood programs, with their expecting to be additional transitions happening in that space as well. That's all.
Did you want to respond to any of that tonight, or?
Well, Trustee Smith-Thomas and all trustees, good evening. Board President, through the chair, we have all of the iReady and IRIP data. As you know, we just started the M-STEP cycle for this spring, so Ms. Caldwell-Carruthers has been compiling everything for you, and it's our intent to do a full data presentation to the board in the month of May. If you would like that sooner, please advise, and we will pull it sooner, but that was our intent, to have a study session with you so that you can ask all of those questions and dig down deep. We've been having meetings with the parents all year relative to the IRIPs. I actually have one from a mother at Adler thanking us for her child making tremendous progress from when he came back from the pandemic to present day. So kudos to Principal Dean and her team there. So all of this information we do have. I asked if you want it in a compiled report, or if it would be acceptable to the board for us to do a presentation for you so that you can ask questions in real time.
Definitely a full presentation. I guess the one lingering question I have is as it relates to, since the past couple years, the state has been lenient with COVID and with this law, what deadline are we being given to report, if any? What guidance are we being given from the state, just to make sure we're in alignment with?
Absolutely. Until this very moment, they are stating that they are moving forward with the read by grade 3. They relaxed a lot of things, including in our neighboring community where they had the severe tragedy. They relaxed everything there with the exception of read by grade 3. So they're really sticking to this read by grade 3. I do have a meeting with the state superintendent tomorrow afternoon, and hopefully he will have some additional information to share with us, and I will promptly forward that information on to you. Right now, we don't know. They always tell, they being the state, tell us that once the M-STEP scores come back for the third graders, they will send a report directly to the parents' home. So we usually find out from our parents before we find out from the state when those reports are coming out.
Okay.
So I'll have more information for you on that tomorrow.
Okay. I have additional questions, but through the chair, if we could schedule a lunch and learn really quickly, I don't want to take up this space to just kind of dig into a little bit of those questions specific to read by grade 3. Okay. Thank you.
Understood. Any other board matters from any other trustees? Hearing none, I have one last board matter, and that is that I have made my fellow trustees aware that I was going to be visiting buildings again now that we have been able to breathe a little. And out of respect for the buildings, I wanted to wait until we had a little bit more leg room in this area of COVID. I was able to visit Levy Middle School and Adler Elementary School. And there's two things that I definitely want to say. First of all, thank you to the principals of both buildings, Ms. Jackson and Ms. Dean. It was good to be back in the buildings and see our kids, our students, our staff, and get a feel for how people are doing. Secondly, I was able to speak with multiple teachers, and I had very productive conversations with both of the building leadership. What I appreciate about the conversations were that concerns came with solutions and are solution-driven. So one of the things that I think we all agree is that the communication lines among our district have to improve. And so that is something that I know we are all working on. You've heard us speaking about visiting buildings and having access to things. So we're not just asking for certain things so we can just go and spy. We're asking for things so we can go and be engaged. So I would like to say thank you to both of those. With that being said, I was able to take a very hard look at our buildings. Many of you have heard that I am a graduate of Southfield Public Schools, K through 12, and many of the schools look the same from when I went there. And while it is not funny, it is just one of those things that we have to change. I've spoken with Dr. Green. I've spoken with the trustees. We are all in agreement that infrastructure is on our radar and that our children, they deserve it. They deserve to be proud of their buildings, not only the culture of the school, but the physical building that they're in. With that being said, I think that there will be more communication about the understanding of the process for buildings to make sure that they are able to get what they need and get it as quick and fast as they can. But that being said, there's only so many Band-Aids we can make, which is why this capital band improvement campaign will be so important. As the month goes forward, as we roll into May, you will hear and you will see a lot of information. As you sit in this room, I ask you to become involved and become engaged. It's an invitation. And it is an ask. If you have a voice and if you would like to take part in productivity, as these things come out, please join us. I encourage you all to get involved in the process of deciding what we want to do for our district. So thank you. I appreciate you all for allowing me to come into your buildings. And again, be on the lookout for more information about our capital bond improvement campaign. Anyone else? With that being said, our student board representatives will not be reporting out this evening. I know it is on the agenda, but we look forward to hearing from them in May. Dr. Green?
Board President, if I may just share that one is ill and the other has a tennis match. So we know where priorities lie, and with scholarships being attached to athletics, we wish her well and hope that she wins the match this evening.
Thank you for that. At this time, public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. Dr. Donovan Colquitt.
Southfield alum.
Oh,
It's not on there, but I thought I'd put that out there.
Good afternoon.
Southfield alum, meaning the district.
that's right. Southfield Lathrop, Senior High School. Go Chargers.
Go Chargers. Chargers. So my name is Dr. Donovan Colquitt. I'm a recent graduate of Purdue University for a PhD in engineering education. And I went to the University of Michigan for mechanical engineering.
I'm sorry, where?
Go Blue. Go Blue. We all know what I said. I was trying to keep it to 3 minutes. So,
We're running out of time.
I earned $1.25 million in scholarships my senior year of high school, and I went on to write a book and publish it in 2015 called The Scholar Ski How You Can Unlock Your Dreams of the Teen. What I ended up doing was creating a business around that, motivating students in the college and career readiness development sector and leadership development as well. So personal, professional, and leadership development is what I love to do with students. What I want to do is offer and volunteer my services to Southfield Public Schools, and I'm here for you. That's all I wanted to say.
We accept. We accept. And congratulations. That is a perfect example of a Southfield Public Schools student.
Agreed. Artist Wright.
I would like to give my message to Andrew Wright.
So he's yielding. For the official record, mark that Mr. Wright is yielding his minutes to Andrea Wright.
All right, good evening, everyone. I am Andrea Wright. I'm Area Council PTA President. So I am standing here speaking on behalf of our parents since we've been virtual. So this is my first time being out. So first of all, I wanted to just acknowledge on March the 10th at our Southfield, the meeting here, a report was put out on March 3rd, my meeting, general meeting. It was stated that Founders Day was canceled, but it should have stated, it's nothing malicious, but I just wanted to be put on record clarity that we voted on canceling Founders Day because we found that, excuse me, talking behind this mask, it's so crazy. We found that, and it stated that we canceled it because of PTA and PTA parents, the lack thereof. That's not true, because it's not the parents, it was because of COVID-19. I'm looking with my reader's glasses. It was because of COVID-19 and all the restrictions and the constant changes. That's why we voted on not having Founders Day and reflections. So I just wanted that to be clear, that that's the reason why. And then also, the reason why I'm not running another term is because our daughter graduated, our last one graduated in 2021. I took on a year to help our district. That's just who I am. But I want to pass the torch to my parents. Parents that are in the district, that have children. I want to encourage our parents to get involved. It doesn't take much at all. You know, it may be a couple of times out of the month or whatever, but I really wanted to speak to the parents and to our school, our leaders. We have to get involved and build our PTAs back because the COVID-19 has really stifled it. Lack their participation, but it's on everybody's part. It's not just my parents. I wouldn't dare put that on my parents because we're all affected by COVID-19. So I'm standing here to encourage our parents, our teachers, our leaders. Come next year, let's do this together. Not just build the students. This is a family. Let's start with PTA, and let's do this together. Because we're our worst enemy if we keep on just talking, complaining, but let's start working together with Dr. Green, the board, and our schools, our teachers, our principals. Let's all work together to get the district moving forward. We can do it. I've been in the district since the 80s. I know what we're capable of doing. So that's the reason why I just want to encourage my parents to get involved, because PTA is for parents' involvement with children in the district. So you guys can do it. So that's the reason why I'm not running again. I've been doing this since the 80s, you know, so I'm like, it's time to pass the torch. And next, this is what I want to suggest for our district. Our counseling centers need improvement, has to improve. We need to put like a 4-year plan for our high school students. When they get to high school, let's put together a 4-year plan and sit down with our students, get them ready for college. Not just the basics, 4-year plan, where you want to be, what are your goals, you know, where do you want your GPA, you know, community service, list your colleges you're interested in. So the counselors can have a face-to-face communicating with our students, and so when they go off to college, they're not, oh my God, this campus is too huge. Oh my God, they're not prepared. So I want our counselors to get involved, face-to-face with our students, preparing them. And I would like for us to have a district-wide fundraiser. This is another suggestion. You know, I've been in the district a long time, so I have time to think. Let's do a district-wide fundraiser. We did a popcorn fundraiser where we start from PK4 all the way to 12th grade. If we just go online and buy 2 things of popcorn, if every family do this, we can get the job done. Because I'm thinking, you know, you hear about HBC college tours. Instead of HBCUs, let's involve all colleges and for our students. Because by the time they get to the 11th grade, we should reward them for graduation for the 12th grade and send them on a paid college tour. Let them pick out, what college do you guys want to put on this list? And let's pay for them to take this tour and reward them for graduation. That's just something to think about. Instead of them going to other churches and other places, oh, they got this going on, but let us do this here in our district. Let's give our kids something back. Our kids deserve it. The young man that was just up here, you're flowing with me. Come back into the district and teach our children. The children deserve the best. And I know I got a lot, but I'm gonna send it to Dr. Green. I'm gonna send it to y'all. And another thing I was thinking about too. We're talking about the capital bond. I know there's a couple of shades thrown across the room when we want this. Before we do that, we gotta stop the shade talking. Our kids deserve better. Southfield kids are so awesome, and we need to give them the best. And we need a capital bond. They don't know I'm standing up here saying this. I don't mind paying a little bit more. But first of all, as we're doing the process of getting this together to have it pass, our kids need some things now. We have to get them a portable air conditioner in these rooms. Our kids are hot in the summertime, and then they're cold. We can do that. We can use a little money, because when we sell these buildings and land, we'll just get that money back. That's something to just think about. I don't know all the logistics. Okay, y'all, please give this to me. Just give me a few more minutes. So that is something to think about. You know, in the interim, the process for a capital bond, let's look at these buildings that has just, it looks horrible. And our kids go off to other districts and play in sports, and they're like, oh my God, their school is good. Look at this, what they got. We should give that back to our students. They deserve it. We have smart kids, and we all have to work together. So think about that as we're getting prepared for the capital bond. Our kids need some things. And transparency, 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 and communication. We need that. From Imagine 2020, I'm going to keep saying it, we're still whirling out of that because it was propaganda and a lot of talk. And it was like, well, we're going to have these community talks and hear what the parents and the students say. But it was already written down in blood what was going to take place. And we separated two high schools, and the kids didn't like it. And lastly, we have to make note that you're saying for the kids to come over to Southfield A&T to do their sports. They should be waiting on our kids, but they're not. Because my child is evidence. When they get there, they've already started. And how do you think a kid feel if practice already started, everything's in motion? That's discouraging to them. So we have to do better to that as well. Our leaders have to be responsible to make every student feel needed, and you're waiting on us. Because we did this to our kids. University doesn't have any sports. It's all over here at A&T, and our kids deserve better. So I got a lot of other things to say, but I'm gonna yield back. But I just wanted to share this with my district, with my community. Our kids deserve better. Transparency and communication. I think you guys talked about that. We gotta do better. I don't even want to get emotional. Our kids deserve better.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harmon Gunther.
Just stay where he is.
You can stay where you are, Mr. Gunther. We'll bring the mic to you.
That's okay.
Okay.
You know, I have some.
No problem. We'll wait.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Harmon Gunther. I'm president of Cranbrook Village Homeowners Association. One concern from my neighborhood is what's going to happen to MacArthur Preschool. Is it going to go the way of John Grace, to be refurbished into senior citizen housing? Or do you actually have plans on putting something educational back into the school? Now, last year, the fire department dug trenches into the grounds behind the school for their trench training. They did a horrible job of filling the trenches back up, and we had some very invasive plants growing there. It took my contacting the training officer, the DPW, and Ms. Smith to get the ground leveled again to where the mowers could actually mow the lawn. Now, this year, they did a better job of filling the trenches in, and hopefully we won't have this problem this year. It's springtime, the grass is growing there, hopefully the mowers will do their job. Now, I'm asking that you would also consider telling the mowers to do the edging along the fences. There's a lot of homes that border your property, including the walkway from Green Spruce to the field. So please have your edgers, your law enforcement, come through and edge that walkway. Doesn't take much. 15 minutes is maximum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gunther.
Thank you.
Michelle Lee.
name is Michelle Lee, and my son attends the Levy Middle School. And my concerns is the young lady was talking about, that we have to do better. I'm representing special education students. So I feel that our kids are left out. I appreciate Dr. Green's email today regarding the fact that we can't go into the school, but I had emailed several times concerning his situations at school or his behavior, and nobody ever emailed me. But when it came to me inquiring about going into the school so I can talk to a teacher or help out, so you say you want parents to be involved, but when you're too involved, you get too much pushback. And so this is how I've been feeling. I've been in the districts, he has Down syndrome. When I first came to the district, he was told that he didn't belong. And from that point on, that's how I've been feeling. So it's frustrating because I'm a very involved parent, but because I do speak my mind, I say how I feel, but it's no support. So when it comes to even the fact that he got kicked out of school for 3 days, and I know we have this restorative act program that I don't even think was implemented, but even when the teacher said that he didn't do it intentionally, it was okay, it happened and it's over and this is what has to take place. He has a disability. For some reason, we have support to a certain extent, but when you talk too much or you express yourself too much, it's like, okay, well, calm down, or you're getting too aggressive. My son deserves the same support as a gen ed student. And so this is why we do have to do better. To me, I feel that the Southfield pushes our kids to the side. They dismiss them. You don't strive to give them the proper education. She was talking about children reading at 3rd grade. My son can't read at all. Only because I found a program for him during COVID, he's learned the process. He's been in the school system where he's in 8th grade, and they're coloring. So to me, it's as if the kids that have a disability or have special needs are not important. And that's where we have to do better. I don't like the fact that because I have an advocate, I'm getting banned or targeted because I have an advocate. Because she knows things that I don't know. She knows my son's rights, but I could get problems because of that. So we do have to do better. We have to do better for our kids that can't always speak for themselves. We have to do better supporting our parents that have children with special needs. And this is where Southfield, we have a terrible reputation in supporting kids with special needs. So this is where I hope, he's going into high school. I can't even go show him how the high school looks. How can I prepare him for something that he can't even see? You know what I mean? So he was able to go to Levy from Vandenberg, but I don't want to just throw him into an environment that is already going to be stressful.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee, may I ask you to put your email address on your comment card, please?
And thank you. So I hope like my friend here said, I hope we can do better in supporting all our students, not just our general ed students.
Thank you. We will now have the report of the superintendent. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Madam President. Before I address the 4 items listed under the report of the superintendent, I would like to lift some very general comments, not to respond to any individual, however, to address some of the more global pieces, particularly that of the administration's decision to not allow individuals back into our building for the duration of this school year during the hours in which our scholars are in session. On today, in my weekly meeting with the Oakland County Health Department, I received the most recent COVID report for the county. And in every category, every age category in the county, there is an increase in COVID cases, with the exception of the age group 5 to 9 and 10 to 13. I would like to think that some of the decisions that we are making together are aiding in our young scholars not seeing an increase or a spike in COVID cases. We understand and recognize that it's challenging for people to not be in the buildings during the day, but we are doing a gradual reentry where families are able to come in for kindergarten roundup in the evenings. They are able to do walkthroughs, and we are planning a bridge program this summer for all students that will be transitioning to another building or another grade level. So 5th grade to 6th grade, 8th grade to 9th grade, and even for our incoming kindergarten. So I strongly encourage everyone to stay tuned for that additional information, recognizing that we have to have the contact with our families that we serve in order for them to make informed decisions. Also, we will keep and have been utilizing all of the electronic tools provided to us and for us to communicate with families. Lastly, I will state that when issues come to central office, we don't automatically make an assumption. We push them back to the building levels because the building principals are truly the jewels, the gems, and the gatekeepers for situations relative to the children. If it's something that is pertaining to the district as a whole, we address it. If not, we send it to the appropriate department and or expert to handle that situation. Lastly, before I go on to my official report, which is all great news, to highlight the amazing individuals in Southfield Public Schools. I know several times the capital campaign came up, and I would just ask that we lift and remember that the purpose of why we are doing what we are doing is 5 simple points. We are working to right-size the district. We've had declining enrollment in Southfield Public Schools for decades, and it was not addressed. We still own 19 buildings. We are paying for 19 buildings. Lawn, maintenance, upkeep, etc. Those all come with costs. So that is one thing that is being addressed. 2, we are creating educational pathways for all students to be successful, not just that of select students versus neighborhood schools that were expected to do it all. We really need to tune in to our children on what they want to do and or become and provide them with those pathways. We are looking to bolster the arts and technology programming because that is something that this community stated that is very important to them. We are looking to expand the gifted and talented programs, opportunities, and to create a community district inclusive of a community center. So those are our 5 objectives that we are working on, and I believe a lot of what we heard falls under those 5 categories. So please become involved. Mr. James Jackson is working with a group to have focus groups that will be intentional to garner the input from our community stakeholders for this purpose. Okay. Now, without further ado, don't hit that button just yet, Ron. I want to acknowledge a 5th grade student in our district, Miss Bailey Norton, who won first place for the NAACP Art and Essay Contest. She is in Miss Brandy Walker's 5th grade class, so I would like to congratulate again Miss Bailey Norton, Miss Brandy Walker, and of course, Mr. Principal Lake for their great work. We will have that artwork on display here next month, and I will be inviting them and their families to come to this meeting for proper recognition, but I couldn't wait a month to share that good news with you. They have been invited to a reception, and they're going to receive their proper acknowledgement there as well. So kudos to Bailey Norton. The next item is that of autism acceptance. You will find on your desk this evening, there's a lot of information regarding autism awareness, but we are moving past autism awareness to autism acceptance. It's not enough to be aware. It is another level for us to accept. And I could tell you all about it, but I know you don't want to hear from me. You hear from me all day, every day. Let's hear it from one of our very own students at Kennedy Learning Center. Ron?
Evening, board members, Dr. Green, Ms. Austin, staff, students, and community members. My name is Marlon Walker, and I am a student at Kennedy Learning Center, and I am in the Next Step Transition Program. I have learned a lot, and I have grown as a person since beginning at Kennedy. I have been a volunteer at Providence Hospital, Forgotten Harvest, and Focus Hope. Thanks to MRS and Southfield Public Schools, I had the opportunity of working a paid position last summer at the Farmington Hills Nature Center. I enjoyed, and I will be returning to that position this summer as well. My personal favorite position at Kennedy has been assisting the KOC students that are in wheelchairs. I transport them to and from the bus to their classroom and daily activities in the building, where I am known as assistant principal to everyone. As a KOC student, I am living my purpose, and I am proud to celebrate Autism Awareness Month. In closing, I am proud to be Kennedy's April Student of the Month. Remember, autism is proof that love needs no words. Thank you for your time.
All right, I couldn't have said it better. So expect to see his name on one of the future personnel action reports, because he has already claimed that he is the assistant principal of Kennedy Learning Center. We have greatness happening in Southfield Public Schools. We have challenges, and we must address those challenges, but the greatness continues. So I just wanted to highlight, again, some of the greatness that we have happening here. Last but definitely not least, our school district is having kindergarten roundup. We have returned to in-person kindergarten roundup, so we have a very short video. And again, that last video was only 3 minutes. It seemed long, but it's amazing what you can do with 3 minutes and a catchy tune that engages students in the learning. So this is just a real quick clip for our kindergarten roundup, which is happening throughout our district. Today, I believe we had kites in kindergarten at Stevenson, and I know we have some more things happening. So, Mr. Ron, I don't know why the screen went down. There you go. All right, thank you to our communications team and M1 Studios for putting that together. If you missed any dates, don't worry, we will have that on our district social media as well as our district website. Again, Board President,
I'll give you a quick example.
Highlight of
not this incident, but a previous incident. There was a student who made a threat
for our students.
And
thank you, Ron.
Dr. Green, quick question about kindergarten roundup. Are there mailers or anything tangible that is going out to our community regarding kindergarten roundup?
Absolutely. We have flyers that will be distributed to 30 of the early childhood centers in our surrounding area. We have some handbills that Mr. Jackson is responsible for. So to answer your question, yes, but I do know that number of 30 because we did a lot of research on where our young people come from. So we are being very intentional with getting that information in their hands.
Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions for the superintendent or any discussion? Hearing none.
And just a quick note from the Stevenson principal, we had 22 new families today at our Kinders and Kites event. So.
I did have one question through the chair.
Yes.
I've been trying to figure out how to go about approaching this. My question specifically relates to, you had mentioned quite a few kind of specialized groups. How are we helping to bridge the gap for the children with certain special needs who age out of early on, so that there's not a drop in services? And this kind of goes back to the first question I mentioned about the vision for early childhood. As it relates to our current offerings, how are we handling making sure that there's a continuation of services for those children in that 3 to 4 year old kind of space before they enter kindergarten, so that if they have been in early on, they kind of ease into what they need in kindergarten versus that gap. Is that question making sense?
It does, and you lifted that during the last meeting that I was in attendance, so I took that back, and the team is working on some various pathways. I even took back the piece that we discussed relative to having different things happening at the daycare sites and the preschool sites, et cetera. So we don't have anything finalized at this point, but I do want you to know that it's on our radar.
Okay, I asked it again just because I listened to the groups you mentioned about the bond, and I think that if we're going to look specifically to make sure we're maintaining all groups, that we make sure we do that and not leave anyone out.
So that'll definitely fall under the educational pathway piece, and we'll make sure that we have that as a sub-bullet under that. We're very broad right now because we're really looking to garner the input from our stakeholders. So once all of that comes back, we'll have that full presentation for the board at the
Okay, and when you mentioned you're taking it back to the team, have we included PAC in any of those conversations? One of the last meetings I was able to attend, that space of having more early on representation with PAC did come up in terms of just making sure that as the parent mentioned, that the parents across the community at all age levels are represented in PAC and also feeling supported versus coming in at kindergarten, because, you know, as we all know, kindergarten is not the same as kindergarten was once before. And when you come into kindergarten as a parent and or student, especially a student with special needs, and having to start at that point with getting those supports can really be a set of even further setback. So
I know that I
really
personally,
where I'm coming from in that space.
I did not personally reach out to PAC regarding that, but I will find out where we are in that process, and I will provide a full report.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Action items. I'd like to ask for a motion to open and approve the consent agenda, approval of minutes.
So moved.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Board Secretary, please call for the vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion? Any changes? Any modifications?
Board President, if I may.
Sure.
One of the trustees did lift to my attention earlier that there was a typo in one of the sets of minutes. So the documents that you have in front of you are slightly different than the ones that are online. The ones online are accurate. The last set of minutes reflected a March date, not April 11th. So that has been corrected, as well as a couple other minor things. But we don't want to kill any more trees, knowing that Southfield is a city of trees.
Understood.
So we didn't print out any more copies. But it is online and it is accurate.
Wonderful. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Smith-Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to open and approve Report 6059, Personnel Action Report?
So moved. Support.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any questions? Dr. Green?
Board President, if I may just add that, again, right before the meeting, trustees and I were having a conversation relative to the number of individuals listed on the personnel action report. So before people think that we have 80 people transitioning from our district, that is not the case. Many of our staff are no longer probationary teachers. They are actual tenured teachers. So congratulations to all of the teachers having made tenure in Southfield Public Schools.
Hearing no other discussion?
I'm sorry, Board President, if we could just pause for 1 second.
Yes.
My question is as it relates to particularly the instructional positions that are our transitions. Are we looking to hold off before reposting? Is there a plan to, maybe the end of the school year or in time for the beginning of the school year, kind of look through the right sizing plan?
Board President, if I may. The district's plan is just that we do have people transitioning. We are also working very diligently with our external auditors, if you will, to ensure that when we go to the State of Michigan Department of Treasury to ask them for a capital campaign, that we are properly utilizing all of our resources, human capital being our greatest resource in the district. So we are, in some instances, interviewing and offering those positions now because this is the season. Many of the colleges are holding their graduations in a couple weeks, and we want to make sure that we are at the table to get those positions, those individuals in those positions that are high priority positions. For other positions, we will be looking to dissolve some of those FTEs through attrition so that we are not impacting anyone through layoff or reduction of staff.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Smith-Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous?
Motion carried.
And Board President, I think, if I'm not mistaken, our new Assistant Director of Finance is here this evening. Is that accurate, Mr. Ingram? No? Okay. All right. Very good. Well, we'll meet that young lady at the very next meeting.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I have a motion to open and approve Report 6064, chiller for the University Middle and High School Academies.
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Is there any discussion? So I have one question. The chiller that we are going to purchase, I know that there is a chiller that was purchased last summer, 2021, right? Mm-hmm. Can you please just go over what this chiller will cover? I mean, that campus is big. I think it's important that we understand how we are chilling it.
Utilizing our resources. Yes. I actually will call the expert, Miss Felicia Venable, up to the microphone. But I will say this: this is for one chiller, and this is just for the U side of the building. We don't even have the infrastructure on the MacArthur side to support a chiller of this magnitude. So we are in the process of purchasing additional individual units, as we've done in the past.
Yep.
We also know that we are in the process of determining what we do with our infrastructure. So one thing that is extremely important to all of us is that of repurposing. And we know that whatever ask we bring to you now, we will be able to take those same items and repurpose them elsewhere at a later date once we know where the district is headed. So none of what we're asking you for between now and December is something that is going to be left or demolished at a later date. We're going to utilize everything. So, Ms. Venable, did you want to add about the chiller, how this chiller is chilling the building? They walked the building today too, so she can probably give some input.
Go ahead, Trustee Joyce.
Yeah, I have a question. So now that means we have 2 chillers on that campus.
The experts don't, yeah, because I don't.
Going through go that way.
You're absolutely correct. It may even be
there's
more.
2 chillers. How many chillers is on that campus total? So now you have 2. Is it 2 more that's got to be replaced? Or how does that, I mean, do you have that number? Or?
I'm going to lean into the expert. I've earned my construction hat most recently, but not in all areas, so.
Before Ms. Venable proceeds, Trustee Hicks.
Yes, thank you, Board President. So I just want to maybe put something in context before the professional comes up.
Okay.
I know many of us have had a car or two in our history that was a bit mature. And at some point you try to make a decision, do I need to put more money into this car or do I need to get a new car?
Mm-hmm.
The challenge we're in right now is most of our buildings, as mentioned by Board President, we're built in the 50s and the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're at a point now where we have to determine if we need a new car or do we keep putting money in the existing car. But right now, we got to keep our only method of transportation going. So, as we talked prior, a chiller went down on one side of the building, now another chiller's going down. Every day, I know that we as a board cross our fingers and hold our rabbit's foot that a boiler doesn't go out, that heat doesn't go out. And we've been fortunate, but it's only so much we can hold that lucky rabbit's foot. So as we are talking about things that had the end of its useful life and require updates, in some cases, many of the parts for some of these older devices aren't even available. So the problem that we have is one that will continue until we put in newer technology, newer boilers, heat, HVAC systems, etc. So I just wanted to kind of give some of that color commentary on the state of many of our buildings that we're going to probably have more and more discussion. And one of the questions that I had posed to the superintendent prior to is that, when we're successful with your help with the capital campaign, can we repurpose any of the new things that we're putting into the buildings? Because the chillers are not inexpensive. It's not like going to buy an air filter for your furnace. Mm-hmm. So the question was for, it's more of a gotta have than a nice to have right now, because we can't have the babies cold, we can't have them hot when you're not supposed to be. So we want to make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest for the district and not be wasteful of money, but some cases we have to act in order to make sure that they are comfortable. So, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take that long.
No,
Okay.
and I was just going to piggyback on that, and thank you, Ms. Venable, for your patience. It was mentioned about transparency, right? So we could have easily approved this because we know we need it. I think it's important that we sit at this table, and this is something that we as a board have agreed to do, is ask questions. Mm-hmm. I think it's the only way that you can take the information that you have here and share it with the community responsibly and fact-based. Because I think it's very important that you have all the facts. So the fact of the matter is that this chiller isn't going to cover the whole campus. And you need to understand that, but we are making strides to do what is best with what we have at this time. And also be fiscally responsible. And sometimes it causes a conundrum. Because like Charles said, we don't want to spend money on the 1964 Pinto. But we got to get to work. You know, so you do what you have to do with what you have. So I just wanted to draw attention to that. I know the word transparency came up. I think Charles was very eloquent in stating what he did, and the question is important. So I will yield to the expert, which is Ms. Venable.
Well, good evening, Honorable Board and community. I appreciate all that discussion because it makes my job a lot easier, right? And we all feel supported in operations because it's daily that we keep our fingers crossed that something else doesn't fail. So the chiller that you previously approved was to service the ITC center, and that's our data center, right? And so that chiller is still in the works, and we expect that to be installed over the next, by the end of the month, let's say that. So that's not a chiller that would be servicing Southfield Lathrop campus or MacArthur University. The chiller in question tonight is to serve a wing of the building at the MacArthur University campus. It's the G wing, it's the main office. It used to be the main office by the door number 1, and a portion of the hallway leading towards MacArthur. With the exception of Bernie and SRAC, we do not have a building that has systemic cooling. So you have portions of the building with a chiller, you have portions of the building with a rooftop unit, or a portion of the building with a split-in, a portion of the building with window air conditioning units, but nothing systemic. And so this is not the last chiller that'll be presented to you. I can tell you that. We need a chiller package, but certainly it's a larger conversation, a broader conversation about our infrastructure. To your point, these are not cheap or inexpensive pieces of equipment that we're buying. And certainly due to supply chain issues, there's long lead times, and it also requires, obviously, expert installation and construction. So it's a huge undertaking to install the chiller. So to your point, the chiller is not to service the entire campus. It's one chiller that we're asking that it be replaced for the G wing and for the main office of the MacArthur University campus.
So, Ms. Venable, I'm not sure if you know the number off the top of your head. Vice President Joyce asked how many chillers are actually in that building.
That's just the one.
Just the one?
Just the one.
Okay.
But we do have rooftop units. So there's a rooftop unit that services the cafeteria that's closest to 12 Mile, where the University High School kids come in. There's a rooftop unit there. There's a rooftop unit for the gymnasium. There's a hodgepodge of equipment that we have. And it's probably just due to aging and years of construction that we've added on to the building. And so you add on updated equipment at that time. But certainly there's not a complete solution for cooling that building. For instance, at MacArthur, we have portable air conditioning units for the MacArthur students that we'll need to replace, right? Because these are not units that were purchased to be long-lasting. These are portable units that sit on the floor, that vent out the window, that we're going to have to replace because they've been in play for years. So we're looking at putting together pricing for that. We'll come before you again to ask for permission to purchase those units so that the students are cool, right, during the month of June and in August and October now. Fingers crossed it gets cooler by November. We don't have a hot day.
I have one question. So we talk about repurposing. What is the life expectancy of a chiller?
So this unit, if it's well maintained, right, which we all know we've had challenges, right? We have a lot of deferred maintenance, but well maintained, this is a unit that could easily last 20 to 25 years. So that's something also that we're looking at, putting together a preventive maintenance schedule so that we can better care for our equipment, right? We want to make it last as long as it's expected to last, right? And not fail anytime sooner.
Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none. Board Secretary, will you call for the vote?
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Smith Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Myself, yes, unanimous.
Motion carried. Informational items. Dr. Green, is it safe to say that none of these items need to be actionable this evening?
Well,
Is there
Madam
anything that-
President, as you heard Ms. Venable so eloquently state, there are supply chain issues. And one of the questions that, again, came up with the trustee when they looked at the financial report was, $88,000, you bought a car? And I said, no, that's the vehicle acquisition that you approved 2 years ago. It took us 2 years to actually get the vehicles. So we finally paid the bill because we finally have the cars, but that's just how long it's taken us to get things with lead time. So having said that, specifically, I know with 65 being our food service and how important nutrition is to our babies, that may be one that I ask you to consider, and then I'll lean into Director Hill as it pertains to our early childhood and what the supply time looks like for those items. We're in a unique situation, so I don't know what that timeline looks like. Director Hill, if you would please come and address 6060, purchase of additional playground equipment for our little ones.
I'm sorry, through the chair, if we could properly open items, please.
Do we need to open it for
Information
information?
items? I don't know. That's a good question.
So moved.
Support.
For 6060 and 6061, since those are both related to early childhood.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Green, board, and community. As it relates to the playground equipment, I did have a conversation. There was a representative from Kaplan that I met with last Thursday. There is an issue with getting playground equipment in, and I asked her how long does she think it would take. It's not so much, you also have to get someone to install it. And they are 3 to 4 months behind in installation. However, I did urge her and say, we're with Head Start, can you give us a little leeway? Because they understand that funding issue. So I have been in communication with our program specialists and sharing what we want to do and what flexibility might we have if we order the equipment, but it cannot be installed before June 30th. So that can be a special request that we can make through the Office of Head Start. But again, it's trying to get the equipment in, and we want to get a new surfacing and everything for the playground. So, fingers crossed and prayers that
that was mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it's hard right now. Everybody's has this money to spend because of, staff shortages and things like that, and that's where they're going. Because Head Start has reduced right now, there's flexibility with purchasing. That they said that will be ending shortly as we move into safer spaces with the pandemic. But right now, there's flexibilities with the Office of Head Start. I don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah, it's in the report. And Director Hill, just for the record, the amount has already been approved in the grant through the Office of Head Start. Again, it is for transparency.
It is in this current grant that we submitted. Yes, ma'am. However, we probably will be requesting a carryover of funds, and so we're looking at also where the portable used to be at Bussey. We were thinking about maybe even building an additional playground in that space as well for the children. Are there any questions?
I have none. You have? Okay. Can we move to 6061?
Purchase
Yes,
of the
ma'am,
marquee.
the marquee.
Yes, ma'am.
So my understanding is there's been a PO that has been for the installation of it, but for the marquee itself, we know that we would have to, of course, get the approval from the board. So we were just going to wait on that so that we can then reach out to the people that are, the vendors that are building the marquees, I guess you would call building them, or designing the marquee. I would love it if you could approve it, so we can have it up, and it'll be a little bit more attractive when people turn the corner on Frederick and see a marquee.
It's also in alignment with our communication goal that we're focused on as a district. And this item was lifted in the last meeting under information. It was one of those items that was tabled. So technically, it would have been before you for approval this evening.
Through the chair, I just have a question.
Trustee Joyce.
I'm sorry.
Vice President.
So my concern is, since I do spend a lot of time at Busty,
Yes,
and I hit in that direction coming from the area of Atwood. So, sometimes I take different routes. But getting to that area and going in that area which is leading, not only Busty, but leading, there's no signage off a telegraph in that area that lets you know that there's a school or a busing program center there. Is there any kind of way we can, I know we're putting a marquee in front of the school. That means that when you turn into the parking lot, you see that marquee. And what about signage that will lead folks to Busty? I mean, that's something we need to look into.
It's kind of interesting that, because I had a conversation with the mayor. I had reached out to him in relation to Month of the Young Child, and he did put up, where the two signs that are there now, that are on 9 Mile, when you're approaching from Telegraph and from Beach, the city of Southfield did put those signs up. So I said it would be really nice if we could have a sign at Beach Daily and at Telegraph, so that they would know to come on down those streets. So, he didn't say anything. Yes, sir. But if not, I'm sure that's something that, I just don't know, you have to go, I guess.
Go through city planning.
Yes,
Get it
ma'am.
put on their property.
Yes, ma'am. But I wouldn't see an issue with us being able to use Head Start funding to be able, for that signage, because that's just advertising that there's an early childhood program that is in that area, and maybe it could kind of lead them to there, but I think that's a great idea.
It also would be a great idea to have signage that will have both Busty and Lee.
Yes, sir.
A combined sign that would show both schools are in that area.
Yes, sir.
And for full transparency, we could only use Head Start funding for a portion of the sign because the Levy portion.
Yeah, well, I know how that works.
No, I was just sharing it for the community because I know that grant funding is intricate.
It's pretty interesting dealing with the
Yes, sir.
Board Secretary.
I have a question, if I may.
Is it me?
It's your computer.
Can you tell me if this is going to be a stagnant sign, or is it not one that will have any messaging that can be put on the sign?
I believe it's LED.
We will be able to put messaging on the sign.
It's LED, which falls under our communications piece.
And lastly, from what I'm understanding, this is 100% funded by the grant. 100%.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other discussion?
I have one question.
Yes.
I assume the sign is movable at some point if Busty is no longer in its current location for whatever reason in the future?
That's a good question.
Ms. Venable, you need a seat closer to the podium, but I think I know the answer to that question. Again, I'm leaning into the experts. It's pretty much the electric piece.
Exactly. So the
Yeah.
signs can transfer, we just have to type in the electrical
Okay,
underground to support it.
thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Smith-Thomas?
Board President, I don't have a question, just a comment. I have no objection to moving these two items
To
for
action.
action.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was
Thank
going to
you.
ask.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hill.
Do I have a motion?
Board
Trustee
President, I
Hicks?
guess I would ask, let's go through the next item.
Sure.
And then the motion for maybe all three may be entertained if it's the pleasure of the board.
Understood.
Okay.
Report 6065, food service technology upgrades and new equipment.
Whew,
Yeah,
that's a mouthful. I think I heard we have to open information items first.
So moved.
Support.
All right, so one of the very first things I had to do when I joined the district was make an emergency call to all the trustees asking for the replacement of a stove at Levy. I will never forget that. It was a bad situation, but we had babies to feed. And as all of you have referenced earlier in the meeting, our kitchens are just as bad as our buildings and our infrastructure, and our babies need proper nutrition every day they come to school. So the ask is that we do upgrades through the Food Service Fund. Of course, the federal government has afforded us an opportunity over the last 2 years to cover all students' meals while we were in the pandemic. Unfortunately, that is coming to an end. So if I may just put out a shameless plug that those household surveys are going to be more important this year than ever, because now, as of June 30th, the free meals are ending and we will have babies that are hungry. So we are asking the trustees to allow us to use the food service funds up to $100,000 to upgrade not only the equipment, the hoods, the stoves, the ovens, but also the technology specifically for the a la carte items. And our children love the salad bar. They love all those things. So we'd like to continue to be able to provide them with healthy options.
So I do have a question. In touring the buildings, I also was allowed to tour the cafeterias and the kitchens. So in providing this dollar amount, I saw some areas in which you couldn't get your tray down the line. So will this money that we spend to upgrade also mean that we will regularly ensure that things are maintained and taken care of? I say that just because, as you said, they have to eat there and cook there. And I'm wondering, how is this $100,000 all inclusive of every building, or is this priority based?
This is priority. Board President, you are absolutely correct. This is priority based. And I want to share for our viewing audience that we have been prioritizing the fires from day one. We really needed to do a complete overhaul of our infrastructure on day one. Unfortunately, we don't have enough dollars present day to do that. And I receive calls every day asking what are we doing with our ESSER dollars. HVAC systems in one building alone is $5 million. That's before you do the roof, the windows, the doors, the roads, the potholes, and everything else, not including the kitchen. So this is indeed the fire list for our kitchen upgrades throughout the district. Again, if there were ever a shift in the future, we would repurpose all of this equipment in which we are currently asking. The piece on maintenance, that is so crucial. We walked into $200 million of deferred maintenance. There was not a maintenance piece in place for much of anything, and as a result, we are here today begging, pleading, for our students to have what they deserve. And it's most unfortunate. This administration, this board is committed to having preventative maintenance on every item in which we purchase as a team of 8.
Understood. Is there any other discussion? Trustee Hicks?
Through the chair, I move that we approve report 60, 60, 60, 61, and 60, 65.
Support?
Support.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Board Secretary, would you please call for the vote?
Trustee Smith Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yeah.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Motion carried.
Thank you, thank you, thank you on behalf of our babies.
I ask that we table report 6067, Board of Education goals. I believe we spoke last month about a study session where we can really dig in deep and actually have some actionable outcome for our community. If there is no opposition, thank you. Monthly financial report.
Board President, if I may, the letter E and F were all emailed to the Board of Education. One of the reasons we no longer do the consolidated report and put it on the screen is because we want to be transparent with each of you, and that's why we provide all of the supplemental information. I appreciate people going through with a fine-tooth comb. Like I said, one trustee noticed there was an $88,000 bill paid, and I appreciate that. At this time, we have our finance team here if there are any questions relative to other things that were glaring in our monthly financial report and our bill disbursement report.
Trustee Hicks?
So not glaring, but just more of a question. When are we having the discussion on the impact from pupil accounting?
That is forthcoming as part of the whole conversation with the capital campaign, because we have to take all those components into consideration when we meet with the Department of Treasury.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
As we discuss further our finances, I would like to know where we are with the zero-based budgeting with the buildings, how that worked this year, what's the plan moving forward, and what's happening with any funds that were not spent.
Understood.
And Board President, if I may, they're going through that process as we speak, so I'll have more information next month on that. This is the budgeting cycle.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. For the good of the order. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order?
I just want to say good job on your first meeting.
Oh, thank you. Any other for the good of the order? I have one last thing for the community. I said it earlier. I just want to say it again. Please consider getting involved in this capital bond campaign. I can't urge you enough, if nothing else, at least come and hear what we have to offer and share fact-based data with the community. I don't think any of us are opposed to answering questions to the best of our ability about what is going on, especially in the near future when we start getting more updates and the presentation comes. It's extremely important. We've talked about infrastructure, I think, 10 times. So please look for it. Go on our website to get updated. To the parents, check your S'mores newsletters. To the building staff, please get your staff involved and the administration. And that would be my only ask of everyone in this room. Yes, Vice President Joyce?
As a resident of this community, I'm just tired of the hoopies that we have to be going on. I'm tired of it. We need new equipment, and we need to upgrade. all the reasons for our children. So we're looking forward to everyone supporting our endeavors of getting us funding.
Is there any other, for the good of the order? Future meetings. Tuesday, April 19th, 6:30, we have a student hearing. On Tuesday, April 26th, at 6:30, there is a special board meeting study session. Tuesday, May 10th, at 7 o'clock, there will be another regular board meeting. We look forward to seeing you all. This meeting is adjourned at 8:36 p.m.